If I say to you tomorrow, take my hand, child, come with me. It's to a castle.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Sonic Collective. This is Alan speaking for us for the month of April, and today I'm joined with Darren Scott Gregory,
Hello.
and unfortunately Scott Coates once again could not make it. He's living the life in Thailand, and just the time zone difference makes it hard for us to kind of align everything, but rest assured he will be giving his 2 cents on this album kind of at the end here. So
He's actually roughing it. He went to Bali. He had to go to Bali, so he couldn't jump on the call. Tough life, eh?
That's an even rougher life, I know, right?
Yeah. So, of course, we're reviewing Led Zeppelin 2 this month. I don't remember if I said that or not, but Led Zeppelin 2 is what we will be talking about today. So, I'm going to throw it over to, how about Darren? What did you think of the album?
Yeah, I loved it. I was glad. We were just talking before we started recording here a little bit, and I really was glad that you picked Led Zeppelin. I think, Scott, you've alluded that you might pick them soon, or was hoping somebody had in the past, and yeah. I think, hey, who's kidding who? We talk about influential albums, and you get into Led Zeppelin, it's hard not to talk about them. But yeah, I thought this was a great pick, and I was saying to Alan, I really liked how he picked 2. A lot of people would just maybe pick the first album because we tend to try and go back to the beginning a bit, or the 4th album, Stairway to Heaven. Everybody knows that one. But I like that he picked 2 because it was a bit different. And and Alan, actually, you were just explaining a bit about it. Why don't you say that again, like how the recording process for this one?
Yeah, for sure. So I knew for sure I wanted to do a Led Zeppelin album, and I was reading through some of the information I could find online about, what was on each album and which songs were really well known. And the thing that struck me about the second album was just more to do with how it was made and why it was made. And if I'm understanding history correctly, they were kind of going hot off the heels of their first album, which had, achieved a certain level of success. And they wanted to prove that they weren't just some kind of a flash in the pan. So throughout the touring process in support of their first album, they were actually busy writing songs and recording a lot of the sessions that would end up making its way onto the second album. So the sense of freneticism and mayhem and chaos that is supposed to be rife on this album kind of struck me as interesting, and I wanted to really explore that.
Yeah, totally. And a lot of it apparently, like they're basically some, not really covers, but modifications of old blues songs.
Yep.
And they would just kind of warm up with them or add them in because, like any band, when you only have one album, it's hard to kind of extend past a half hour or an hour in a concert. So they just would start playing these things and jamming in their own way, and they kind of turn them into songs. So
yeah, and that's
their
crazy,
own thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because they got a lot of criticism for like appropriating a lot of blues kind of slides and themes. But if you look at concert footage and sound and stuff like that, that's just what they love to play. It was clearly their wheelhouse that they wanted to operate in. And it wasn't like they were trying to steal anything. They were definitely, like bluesy bridging over into rock musicians.
Oh yeah, and the Who, the Stones, they all did it. That was that was just the influence, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I was shocked to see how harmonica make its way on the album, though. I knew they were bluesy, but I think the song was "Bring It On Home." Whatever the last track was on the album, they had that was a full blown blues song that could have been at home on any blues album for sure. You wouldn't think it was some band from the UK playing it.
Yeah. So how did, Alan, I mean, I was interested for me because you're the youngest guy here. Like, how did you get exposed to Led Zeppelin and become a fan?
Oh, radio, for sure.
Yeah, just radio,
And I used to hear rumors about there's satanic backmasking in Stairway to Heaven or whatever. What? And so I would actually go and listen to Stairway to Heaven backwards just to see. And by the way, you guys should do that. It sounds really cool.
Really?
It is actually, it sounds really cool. That guitar solo is nuts. especially backwards. Jury's out about the whole Satan thing, but it sounds neat. So that was my first exposure to Zeppelin, and yeah, I mean, what's not to love about them?
See, it's funny because you put me in the older category, and I am.
Well,
but
not older, but
I didn't honestly really listen seriously to Zeppelin until I was about 30. When I went back to school, the instructor for one of my courses, Principles of Graphic Design, was just a massive lead head, and he wouldn't stop talking about Led Zeppelin in class. And I was finally like, you know what? I just have to go and listen to these albums now. And I'd heard Black Dog and Stairway to Heaven before, pretty much stuff off of Four, right? And then when I went through the whole discography, I was like, oh my God, how come I didn't land on these guys earlier? And then when I started listening to Dread Zeppelin, that just took it to a whole other level.
Too funny. Yeah, it's funny. What I think I've mentioned before a lot. It's weird. I've got the story of, it was like my best friend's older brother had all the record collection and of these old bands. And even for me, I mean, I was actually born 1 month and 6 days after this album was released. It was October 22nd, 1969. But so here I wouldn't have been exposed to it till the 80s really, and this my friend's older brother, but at the time I couldn't understand it. I was too young. I couldn't even quite comprehend it. I can't say I got into them that much at that time. It was really kind of later in life here too, probably about the same time in my 30s, which would I guess go back to about 90s or 2000 that I kind of started to kind of get back. And I found that in general, like these guys are meaty. Like it's fun, and this one's a lot of blues and rocking. It's good, but some of the other songs are just like, you gotta like absorb them. They're just so, it's funny. I guess punk rock was probably just starting out, and it's funny that you go from Led Zeppelin into punk rock, which is like the opposite. Here they were making compositions out of blues songs and adding in these crazy vocals from Robert Plant and the drumming, and it's just like, I just found it such a meaty meal, like that you have to pay attention to. And maybe for me, sometimes it's like, I don't know if I have that much time to commit to like experiencing a song like that. But it's amazing now. I go back and I'm like, oh wow, like these guys are unbelievable. I was pretty pumped when Alan picked this.
Like they're intense.
Yeah, and the talent, the songwriting talent, the guitars, like every single aspect of it is great.
Well, and I found, going back and listening to this, like I have tons of Led Zeppelin on my playlists, and I miss a lot of the B tracks because of that. Like I don't go back to them, and it's honestly a lot of 3 and 4. Pretty much all of my favorite songs come off of either 3 or 4 for Led Zeppelin. But honestly, like having not gone back in a long time, when I was doing a full playthrough of 2, What Is and What Should Never Be, Living Loving Maid, She's Just a Woman, like I was like, wow, these really songs need to get back on my list, right? I don't know why they weren't there in the first place, because they're a whole nother dimension on top of the other more driving, intense ones that I already have in there. So this was really good for me in that I went back and filled in a lot of holes that I think I had in my Led Zeppelin experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said about What Is and What Should Never Be. I really liked that. I thought it was a cool intro, and I just thought it was great. And I mean, people, like, there's so many reviews of this. I was just doing some research, and so many people just like get so intricate about it, and like the composition of the songs and stuff. I think, for us, we just more listen for ourselves and try and convey to people, like, is this worth going back and really getting into, and does it still kind of rock and stand up? And I'd say, hell yeah, this one really does.
Yeah, it's funny because I was listening to a review of Duran Duran, and they literally disassembled Rio instrument by instrument, and laying like talking about like the bass playing, how thrumming it is and stuff like that. And I don't think I could ever get that intense in my analysis either, right? I'd just be like, this all sounds really good together. I can see why John Bonham is considered one of the greatest drummers ever, kind of thing. But I'm not going to go through second by second, especially when it's a full meal deal for any given song.
What do you guys think of Moby Dick?
It's a lot of. It was okay. A lot of noodling.
Yeah.
It's one of my top 9 favorite songs on the album.
Too funny. Yeah, I really found
Yeah.
though, like, but at that time, and like I'm a bit older, but like the classic '70s, '80s type of arena rock, like they always had the crazy long drum solo.
It reminds me of this Sloan concert that I went to where literally at one point everyone except for the drummer and the bass player left and they just kept going on with rhythm. And then like the lead guitarist and that were just off and they had like a quick drink. I swear to God, they must have had a smoke or something because they were gone for like 5 or 6 minutes. So anytime I hear something like this, I assume it's a plan for the other guys to like go take a leak or something like that or
Yeah.
a hit of heroin. I don't know, just whatever it is, kind of thing. So I have no faith that this is some sort of artistic venture on their part. This is so that they can swap guitars, swig some beer, and then get back into it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I agree. I think that's. I'm actually really curious to see what other albums sound like from them because as I had mentioned before, a lot of these tracks were really frenetic, and I wonder how much just the environment that they were recording in played a role in all of the noodling and the drumming solos and stuff like that. I wonder if that's present on subsequent albums. So I think it's piqued my interest enough to actually go back and take a look.
Well, they've always impressed me because there's just a huge diversity of where they're coming from. So you can get really slow, kind of like methodical songs, or you can get the hard driving ones. And I find myself always leaning towards the softer side of what they're doing. Like if you go on here, like I said, "What Is and Should Never Be" is one of my favorite. Heartbreaker. When you get into 3, I'm actually all about Gallows Pole and Tangerine, which are 2 slower ones. And then on 4, Going to California and When the Levee Breaks are my favorite ones off of that. So I really like the fact that on every single album, like you said, you can look for those themes that you liked where they're really pushing the speed and getting frenetic. But then if you're also a fan of their slower stuff where they get a little more ballady or bluesy, they deliver every single album,
Yeah.
including this. What are you guys' favorite songs? Like I've already hinted that mine was What Is and What Should Never Be. Was there anything that you guys really thought stood out from the pack?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, Ramble On. What's not to love about that? That's probably my favorite Zeppelin track aside from Stairway to Heaven any day of the week. They get all deep in Lord of the Rings speak, and that appeals to my inner nerd. It's just a badass song. But I also really like Heartbreaker and Living Loving Maid. I feel like they like even on the radio when you hear them played, they usually play them back to back, and it's kind of like harkens back to Queen when they play We Will Rock You immediately followed by We Are the Champions. Like those are 2 separate tracks, but they play them back to back, and they kind of just work together even better. Like the sum is more than the equal parts, whatever that saying is. So I think those 3 tracks for sure, and it just so happens that they're back to back to back on this album, which is fun.
Heartbreaker is a tough one for me because, like I said, I've listened to a bunch of Dread Zeppelin as well, and any song that they covered from Lead, I just can't listen to the original without hearing that Elvis impersonator coming in over top now. So
I'll have to explore that. Well, what about you, Darren?
For me, guys, I actually like all the songs really in a lot of ways, but the classics, Whole Lot of Love, all the ones you hear on the radio, Ramble On. But I gotta say, a guilty pleasure for me and mine is Living Loving Maid. She's Just a Woman. I thought that song was super upbeat and catchy and a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun for me. And one, I guess, you hear it before, but you don't hear it as much on the radio, so I really liked it. and you guys talked about it as well, but I really like What Is and What Should Never Be. I just think that the cool intro that happens there, and then it just kind of picks up and starts rocking. I just really like it. I thought it was really well done. And just one, again, like you listen to these albums in full and you forget about songs like that. So, again, really love that song.
Yeah, for sure. I think What Is and What Never Should Be was definitely, in terms of the songs that maybe are on the B-side, that one was the strongest, for sure. Just from a composition standpoint, I think it sounds really good, and it could have easily been a single. Moby Dick, maybe not so much.
Well, guys, we're getting near the end of the review here. We're getting a little on time. So I guess what would your rating be out of 5 on this one, guys?
I would definitely rate it a 5. I'm totally biased. I make no apologies. I think Led Zeppelin's one of the greatest bands ever. 2 is just as great as 3, is as great as 4, and long live Led Zeppelin.
I'm going to have to agree with Scott. I think this is a really, really tight album. 5 for sure.
Yeah, I as well. I don't think you can fault the album really that much. Sure, you have more favorite songs than others, but really as a full package, and even though it was recorded across touring and things like that, people pick things apart, but when it all comes together, it's just a fun, super fantastic album, and really shows how good these guys were back when they were starting in their prime. Definitely a 5. I don't think you can fault Led Zeppelin here in any way. This is a must listen. All that being said, guys, I guess, is there any parting comments or anything about the album you'd like to add?
I strongly recommend people listen to this album, and then maybe compare it to some of their other stuff, just to see if there is that sonic difference between, recording and writing on the road versus having more time to plan an album deliberately.
Mm-hmm. Also, orcs are misunderstood. Stop the Mordor bashing. Hashtag no orc bashing 2017.
I think we should leave it there.
I agree, Alan. I think we should leave it there. I told you this music was complicated. I'm not sure how we got to orcs, but anyway, this was an awesome time listening to this album, and I think it's time to sign off for our little group here in Calgary. But please stay tuned, because Scott Coates is going to talk right after I shut up. Again, this is thesoniccollective.com. Alan Dupuis, Scott Gregory, and myself, Darren Scott, are signing off here from Calgary. Again, join us at thesoniccollective.com to listen to all our reviews of these classic albums. We'd love to hear your opinions too, so leave comments, and we look forward to reviewing many more albums. All right, here comes Scott Coates with his review.
Hi, this is Scott Coates from the Sonic Collective, recording solo from Bali, Indonesia this time. This is my review for our April pick, Led Zeppelin 2. Wow. Couldn't have picked a better band for me, probably my favorite rock band of all times. Can't believe this is 1969 this came out. That's 4 years before I was even born. I've listened to the whole album before, but really listening to it start to finish deliberately many times throughout the month just amazed me even more. I mean, right from the first song, Whole Lotta Love, it just keeps going. Every single song on this one destroys. It's fantastic. And it was surprising to learn in the post for this that the songs were kind of recorded individually in different areas, different settings, and so forth. So not really in one studio, but I think it comes together as a whole work really, really well. I've touched on this fact quite a bit, but this one's 41 minutes, and albums from, the 60s and 70s tended, that seems to clock in from the low 30 minutes to like mid 40s, and they were sort of short and sweet, and I really think there's a lot to be said for that. There's no filler on this thing. One of my all-time favorite rock tunes, Ramble On, is the second to last or third to last track, which is just great. And then, I gained a lot more appreciation as well for Moby Dick on this one. I liked it, but somehow, being the second last song, it's kind of a nice round out. And then Bring It On Home, well, it's not my favorite song. It's a great final track. It just sort of brings you down. And then other standouts, Heartbreaker, I mean, that's an incredible tune, and the Lemon Song as well. So, I mean, Led Zeppelin 2, it's funny, you read some of the reviews when it originally came out, and it was sort of so-so, but now, obviously, it's one of the greatest rock albums of all time. And yeah, if I keep talking too much more, I'm just going to repeat how awesome it was, how great it was. I think the lyrics are great. The sound of the recordings are great. The songwriting's great. This one gets 5s every every section for me. And Led Zeppelin's one of the greats. This is so varied from one song to the next, and it's a great, great complete work. Fantastic pick.